I came to announce to somebody who survived what should have ended you that heaven has been watching the whole fight. The night you cried in silence, the doors that slammed without explanation, the betrayal that bruised your faith but didn't kill it, none of it was wasted. What tried to break you only proved what was built inside you. You thought the setback was the sentence, but it was the setup. God is about to blow your mind with a comeback so loud it silences the doubt, so complete it confuses your enemies, so precise it restores what you thought was permanently lost. Intro, TD, Jake's inspired tone. Ask, I came to announce to somebody who survived what should have ended you that heaven has been watching the whole fight. The night you cried in silence, the doors that slammed without explanation, the betrayal that bruised your faith but didn't kill it. None of it was wasted. What tried to break you only proved what was built inside you. You thought the setback was the sentence, but it was the setup. God is about to blow your mind with a comeback so loud it silences the doubt, so complete it confuses your enemies, so precise it restores what you thought was permanently lost. Asterisk 8 keynotes, do not expand, ard, dill. The comeback is conceived in the crushing 2. Pressure reveals what protection concealed. 3. Delay is not denial, it is development. 4. What attacked you trained you. 5. God redeems the fragments, not just the future. 6. Your scars are evidence, not embarrassment. 7. The same place of pain becomes the platform. 8. When God restores, he restores with interest. Asterisk expanded Keynote number 1. It's H65B words. There is a mystery to the crushing that most people miss because pain is loud and purpose is quiet. When life pressed you, when circumstances leaned their full weight on your chest and dared you to breathe, something sacred was happening beneath the surface. The crushing did not come to cancel you, it came to conceive you. You were not being buried, you were being planted. Seeds never complain about darkness because darkness is where transformation begins. The pressure that made you question your strength was the same pressure that awakened it. You thought you were losing pieces of yourself, but God was refining you into something that could survive the next level. Oil does not come from untouched olives. Wine does not come from grapes that were never pressed. Destiny is extracted under pressure, and the enemy's greatest mistake was thinking the crushing would make you quit instead of give birth to your comeback. You did not come this far because you were lucky. You are standing because you were layered with tears you never posted, layered with prayers you whispered when faith felt fragile, layered with endurance that grew every time you had to get up without an apology from the ones who hurt you. The crushing taught you how to stand without applause, how to keep moving when motivation dried up, how to trust God when the evidence said otherwise. You learned how to praise with a broken heart, how to believe while bleeding, how to hope when the calendar kept flipping and nothing changed. That education did not come in a classroom. It came in a storm, and storms don't ask permission before they teach. Some of you were crushed by people you trusted, systems you believed in, promises that were made in God's name and broken in human weakness. The betrayal cut deeper because it came wrapped in familiarity. Yet even there, God was shaping discernment. He was teaching you the difference between proximity and covenant, between noise and anointing, between access and assignment. The crushing separated what was sent to walk with you from what was sent to work on you. Not everyone who held you was meant to help you. Not everyone who left you was your loss. Some exits were God's mercy in motion, making room for a comeback that required lighter baggage. When everything fell apart, you discovered what could not be taken from you. They could take the position, but not the calling. They could take the title, but not the training. They could take the money, but not the mindset. They could take the relationship, but not the revelation. The crushing stripped away the extras and exposed the essential. You realized you were more than what you had, more than who you were connected to, more than the season you were in. Identity settled when distractions left. Strength showed up when support disappeared. Faith got clearer when options ran out. Do not despise the crushing because it carried the blueprint of your comeback. God does his best work in hidden places where applause cannot interfere. What was formed in secret will be revealed in power. The tears watered the soil. The pressure set the timing. The silence protected the process. When the comeback manifests, it will not look rushed or accidental. It will look mature. You will speak with authority because you suffered with humility. You will walk with confidence because you survived with grace. What tried to break you only pushed you into alignment with what God already planned before the fight began. Pressure has a way of exposing what comfort keeps hidden. When everything around you was padded, protected, and predictable, you didn't know what was really inside you. But when life tightened its grip, when the safety nets disappeared and the margin for error shrank, the real substance showed up. Pressure didn't create your strength, it revealed it. You were carrying resilience you never had to use until the weight increased. You were walking in authority you never recognized until resistance challenged you. What protection concealed, pressure uncovered, and now you see yourself clearer than you ever did in comfort. When God allows pressure, it is never to humiliate you, it is to authenticate you. Easy seasons can lie to you. They can make you believe your success came from conditions instead of character, from favor instead of faith, from resources instead of resolve. Pressure tells the truth. Pressure asks questions comfort never asks. Who are you when applause fades? Who are you when help is delayed? Who are you when help is delayed? Who are you when prayers seem unanswered and effort feels unnoticed? Under pressure, excuses melt and essence remains. You learned you could still stand when the ground shook, still believe when logic failed, still love when wounds were fresh. Some of you were protected for a long time. Protected by family, protected by position, protected by systems that absorb the blows for you. But there comes a season when God removes the padding, not because he is angry, but because he is angry, but because he is intentional. He knows what is in you, and he knows what is required to bring it out. Pressure is the invitation to grow into what you prayed for. You ask for increase, but increase demands capacity. You ask for influence, but influence requires endurance. You ask for elevation, but elevation attracts resistance. Pressure is the gym where spiritual muscle is built. What surprised you most was not the problem, but your response to it. You didn't break like you thought you would. You didn't quit like they expected you to. You adapted. You learned. You adjusted. You found language for pain and wisdom in waiting. You discovered prayer was not just a ritual, it was oxygen. You realized worship was not just music, it was survival. Under pressure, your relationship with God shifted from casual to critical. You stopped visiting his presence and started living there. What protection once provided externally, you developed internally. Pressure also revealed who was really with you. When the load increased, some hands let go. Some voices went silent. Some promises evaporated. That exposure was painful, but it was necessary. You could not carry dead weight into your comeback. Pressure sorted the room. It distinguished between spectators and supporters, between consumers and covenant partners. The isolation forced you to hear God without interference, to trust his voice over popular opinion, to obey without consensus. What felt like abandonment was actually alignment. You now move differently because pressure refined your discernment. You listen more, you rush less, you pray longer, you speak with intention. You no longer confuse activity with productivity or noise with progress. Pressure slowed you down enough to re-examine your motives and purify your desires. You don't just want success, you want significance. You don't just want blessing, you want stewardship. You don't just want relief, you want readiness. What was concealed by protection is now evident through pressure. The courage you carry is undeniable. The wisdom you speak is earned. The faith you walk in is tested and proven. When the comeback comes, it will not rest on hype or help, but on depth. People will wonder how you stayed standing, how you kept believing, how you emerged stronger. Then you will know it was the pressure that pulled out what God already placed inside you before the fight ever began. Delay has a way of making you question everything you're calling, your timing, even your hearing. When the promise didn't move as fast as your prayer, you wondered if heaven had gone silent. But delay is not denial, it is development. God does not rush what must last. What feels like God withholding is often God preparing. You were asking for the manifestation while God was working on the foundation. He saw where you were going and knew who you had to become to survive there. Delay was not punishment, it was protection. In the waiting, your faith was stretched beyond feelings. You learned how to trust without confirmation, how to obey without applause, how to believe when nothing around you agreed with what God said. Delay stripped faith of convenience. You could no longer lean on momentum or excitement. You had to lean on conviction. That season taught you how to walk by faith and not by sight. Not because it sounded spiritual, but because sight gave you nothing to work with. What you developed in delay was endurance, and endurance is the currency of destiny. Delay also corrected your perspective. At first you thought you were ready because you were gifted, but gifting opens doors character must keep open. You had talent before, but now you have wisdom. You had passion before, but now you have patience. You had confidence before, but now you have humility. Delay matured you emotionally, spiritually, mentally. It healed wounds you were ignoring and exposed motives you didn't want to confront. God loved you too much to release you prematurely and let success destroy what struggle was trying to build. While you were waiting, God was aligning things you could not see. Conversations were happening without your name mentioned. Doors were being positioned before you ever knocked. Resistance was being rerouted. Favored was being stored. The delay kept you hidden while heaven worked behind the scenes. If it had come when you wanted it, you would have thought it was coincidence. Now, when it comes, you will know it was orchestration. The wait made the win unmistakably divine. Delay also taught you stewardship. You learned how to manage disappointment without becoming bitter. You learned how to celebrate others without resenting your own pace. You learned how to keep showing up even when results were slow. You discovered that consistency in obscurity is proof of calling. Anyone can run when the crowd is cheering, but you learn how to walk alone with integrity. That discipline will serve you when influence increases and pressure multiplies. There were moments in delay when you felt forgotten, overlooked, even bypassed. But God was never ignoring you. He was insulating you. Some things that didn't work out were disasters. God quietly canceled. Some opportunities that passed you by were traps you didn't have the strength to resist yet. Delay saved you from attachments that would have drained you and alliances that would have limited you. You were frustrated because you couldn't move forward, not realizing God was keeping you from moving backward. Now you carry depth that cannot be rushed. Your prayers are richer, your discernment is sharper, your voice has weight. You no longer need instant answers because you trust the process. Delay taught you how to wait without wasting the season. You learned how to build while believing, how to prepare while hoping, how to praise while trusting. What took time to develop will take pressure to destroy, and pressure will fail because development has already done its work. What came against you was not random, it was instructional. Every attack carried a lesson. Every challenge sharpened a skill. Every attack carried a lesson. Every challenge sharpened a skill. Every tear trained your spirit. You thought the opposition was sent to stop you, but it was sent to school you. What attacked you trained you. The resistance forced you to think differently, move wiser, pray deeper, and depend stronger. If life had been easy, you would have remained unprepared for the weight of what God intends to place on you. The fight educated you in ways comfort never could. The criticism trained your confidence. Being doubted taught you how to stand without validation. When people question your ability, your calling, your integrity, you learn not to build your identity on opinions. You stop trying to explain yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Learn how to let results speak louder than arguments. That attack trains you to be secure, not defensive, focused, not reactive. You now know who you are, even when nobody agrees with you. The betrayal trains your discernment. Trusting the wrong people hurt deeply, but it opens your eyes. You learned how to listen beyond words and recognize patterns instead of promises. You learned the difference between loyalty that is spoken and loyalty that is proven. That pain refined your judgment so you would not repeat the same mistake at a higher level. What attacked you exposed character gaps in others and clarity within yourself. You no longer give access casually because you paid too much to learn the value of boundaries. The lack trained your faith. When resources dried up and options ran out, prayer became more than a habit. It became survival. You learned how to trust God daily, not theoretically. You learned how to stretch, how to believe for provision one step at a time, how to see God move in unexpected ways. Scarcity forced you to depend on God's presence instead of human provision. Now your faith is not fragile because it has been tested in empty seasons. The rejection trained your resilience, being overlooked or passed by hurt, but it strengthened your endurance. You learned how to keep going when doors stayed closed and emails went unanswered. You learned how to work without recognition and serve without spotlight. That rejection burned persistence into your spirit. You discovered that purpose does not need permission and calling does not require consensus. What tried to discourage you only proved how committed you were to keep moving forward. The delay trained your patience. Waiting longer than expected stretched your emotions and tested your trust. You learned how to manage frustration without quitting and disappointment, without bitterness. Delay taught you how to prepare quietly and mature internally. You stopped rushing God and started aligning with Him. That training will keep you grounded when things accelerate and stable when success comes suddenly. The pain trained your compassion. Suffering softened you instead of hardening you. You now recognize pain in others because you lived in it yourself. You speak with empathy instead of judgment, with understanding instead of assumption. The wounds you survived gave you language to heal others. Your testimony has weight because it was earned through endurance, not theory. Even the enemy's attack trained your authority. What tried to destroy you forced you to discover the power of your voice, the strength of your prayer, the authority of your faith. You learned how to fight back spiritually, how to stand your ground, how to resist without fear. The battle introduced you to a version of yourself you had never met, one that does not collapse under pressure or retreat under threat. Now you are trained, not traumatized. You are equipped, not empty. You are disciplined, not defeated. The attack did not disqualify you, it developed you. Every blow sharpened your focus. Every struggle increased your capacity. When the comeback arrives, it will be sustained by the training you received in the fight, and what once tried to take you out will realize it only made you stronger, wiser, and ready for everything God is about to release through you. God never wastes what life breaks. He does not only redeem what is ahead of you, He reaches back and gathers what was scattered along the way. While you were trying to move on, God was moving backward, picking up fragments you thought were gone forever, pieces of confidence you lost in a bad season, pieces of joy you surrendered to survival, pieces of identity you abandoned just to make it through. God redeems the fragments, not just the future. He is the kind of restorer who counts what was lost and refuses to leave anything behind. You thought redemption meant replacing, but often it means recovering. God is not always interested in giving you something brand new if what you lost still carries purpose. There were parts of you that were pure before pain taught you to guard everything. There were dreams you buried not because they were wrong, but because disappointment made them heavy to carry. God does not shame you for dropping them. He retrieves them, cleans them, and returns them with maturity attached. What you thought was over was only unattended. The enemy's strategy was fragmentation. Break your focus, break your faith. Break your confidence into so many pieces that you would never believe you could be whole again. But God specializes in wholeness. He gathers what shame scattered. He heals what trauma divided. He restores what survival mode forced you to compartmentalize. You learned how to function while fractured, how to smile while split, how to serve while silently bleeding. God saw it all, and He never called you finished just because you were broken. Some fragments fell through relationships that ended badly. You gave more than you should have, stayed longer than you should have, and left with less than you deserved. You lost parts of yourself trying to keep something alive that was already dying. God does not ignore that loss. He redeems the wisdom you gained, the strength you developed, and the clarity that came from the pain. You did not lose years. You gained insight. You did not waste love. You learned discernment. Even what went wrong is now working for your restoration. Other fragments were lost in failure, moments where you missed it, messed up, or made decisions you still replay in your mind. Regret tried to convince you that those mistakes disqualified you from anything meaningful ahead. But God does not restore by pretending failure never happened. He restores by extracting humility, wisdom, and grace from it. What you learned the hard way will save you the next time. What humbled you will ground you when elevation comes. The future God is building includes lessons from your past, not denial of it. There are fragments of faith God is restoring too. You used to believe boldly before prayers went unanswered, and silence stretched longer than expected. Disappointment made you cautious. You still believe, but not like before. God is healing that. He is teaching you how to trust again without being naive, how to hope again without being fragile. Faith after loss is deeper, quieter, stronger. It does not need to shout because it knows where it stands. God redeems the fragments of your voice. You stop speaking up because it cost you too much before. You stopped dreaming out loud because it hurt when it didn't happen. You stopped expecting because disappointment felt safer than hope. But God is returning courage to your words and expectancy to your prayers. Your voice matters again. Your perspective is needed. What you carry now has weight because it has survived silence. This restoration is intentional and detailed. God is not rushing it because He is not just interested in your next season. He is invested in your wholeness. He is stitching together experience, pain, wisdom, and grace into a version of you that can carry blessing without breaking. The future He has planned does not erase the past. It redeems it. Every fragment has a place. Every piece has purpose. Nothing you survived was meaningless. Nothing you lost was invisible. God is restoring you in such a way that when you step forward, you will not be missing parts of yourself. You will be walking complete, aware, and strengthened by everything He redeemed along the way. Your scars are not proof of weakness. They are proof of survival. You did not imagine the pain, and you did not exaggerate the fight. The marks you carry are evidence that something tried to destroy you and failed. Scars mean the wound closed. They mean healing happened. They mean you lived through what was meant to take you out. What shame tried to hide, God now highlights as testimony. Your scars are evidence, not embarrassment. There was a season when you tried to cover them. You learned how to smile strategically, how to change the subject, how to act strong when you were still tender. You feared that if people saw where you were hurt, they would question your strength or doubt your calling. But scars do not disqualify you. They authenticate you. Untested faith is theory. Unwounded leaders are unrelatable. The places where you were hit hardest are the places where authority grew deepest. Scares tell a story words cannot explain. They speak of nights you cried and still got up, of prayers you whispered when shouting felt impossible, of moments you wanted to quit but chose obedience instead. Every scar carries memory, but it also carries meaning. Pain with no purpose is trauma, but pain redeemed becomes wisdom. God never intended for you to bleed forever. He intended for you to heal and remember, not to relive the pain, but to recognize the power that carried you through it. Some of your scars came from battles you did not start. You were attacked for being faithful, targeted for being different, misunderstood for being honest. You paid a price for integrity, and it hurt. But those scars remind you that you did not lose yourself to fit in. You did not compromise to survive. You stood your ground when walking away would have been easier. That kind of endurance leaves marks, but it also builds credibility. Heaven trusts people who have been wounded and stayed true. Other scars came from mistakes you made yourself, choices you regret, paths you wish you had never taken. Those scars used to haunt you, but God reframed them. He taught you that grace does not erase consequences, but it does redeem outcomes. Your scars from failure did not end your story. They matured it. They made you cautious without making you fearful. They made you humble without making you hesitant. You now walk with awareness instead of arrogance. Scars also protect you. You are more discerning now. You listen more closely. You pray before you commit. You do not rush intimacy or trust blindly. Pain taught you how valuable peace is and how expensive wisdom can be. You no longer feel the need to prove everything because survival already proved enough. The scar tissue formed where you were once sensitive, giving you strength where you used to be vulnerable. God uses scars as bridges to others. People are not healed by your perfection. They are healed by your honesty. When you speak from healed places, it gives others permission to believe healing is possible for them too. Your scars translate pain into hope. They turn private battles into public breakthroughs. Someone is still alive because you survived what you survived. Someone is still believing because you kept going when it hurt. You are no longer ashamed of what marked you because you understand what marked you did not define you. The scar is not the injury, it is the evidence of recovery. It is the proof that the wound did not win. When God showcases your life, He does not erase the scars. He redeems them. He turns them into signs of resilience, symbols of mercy, reminders of deliverance. You are not damaged goods. You are living proof that healing is real, restoration is possible, and survival carries its own kind of glory. The place that hurt you the most is the place God is about to use the loudest. What you wanted to escape becomes the very ground He plants your purpose in. The same environment that drained you will now display you. The same room where you were overlooked will hear your voice with clarity and respect. The place of pain becomes the platform, not by accident, but by divine intention. God never wastes geography. He assigns purpose to locations marked by tears. You thought leaving was the only way to heal, but sometimes God heals by redeeming the scene of the wound. He does not always remove you from the place of pain. He transforms it. What once felt like a prison becomes a pulpit. What once felt like a battlefield becomes a testimony. The memories that used to weaken you now fuel you. When God elevates you in the same place you were wounded, it is not revenge, it is revelation. There is power in returning healed, not to relive the pain, but to demonstrate the grace. When you stand where you once fell and remain standing, it breaks the authority of fear. The place that held your trauma now witnesses your triumph. Your presence alone becomes a sermon. You no longer shrink in that environment because it no longer owns you. Healing changed your posture. Freedom changed your voice. You do not come back smaller, you come back wiser. God often builds platforms out of pain because pain gives you credibility. People listen differently to someone who knows the cost. Your message carries weight because it was forged in fire. You are not speaking from theory, you are speaking from survival. The very thing that disqualified you in their eyes becomes the reason they trust you. Authenticity is born where suffering meets obedience. Some of you were wounded in ministry, in family, in business, in relationships, in church spaces, in leadership circles. You wanted to run, and God allowed distance for healing. But now He is calling you back, not as the same person who was hurt, but as the person who has been restored. You are returning with boundaries, wisdom, and authority. You are not coming back to beg for acceptance. You are coming back carrying assignment. The platform God builds from pain is not about spotlight. It is about impact. You are positioned to reach people who are still bleeding where you once bled. You understand their language because you lived their reality. Your compassion is not forced, it is natural. Your words land because they come from a place of truth. When you speak, chains break quietly because hope sounds believable coming from you. The enemy tried to silence you by hurting you in that place. He assumed pain would make you retreat permanently. What he did not know is that God was strengthening your voice in the background. The delay was developing your message. The suffering was shaping your assignment. Now the platform is set not by popularity, but by purpose. God trusts you with that space because you will steward it with humility. This is not about reopening wounds. It is about reclaiming territory. You are not going back to be wounded again. You are going back to witness transformation. The same place that saw your tears will now see your testimony. The same environment that tested your faith will now host your fruit. God is turning the site of your struggle into the stage of His glory. And your obedience in returning completes the miracle He started when you survived the pain. When God restores, He never does it halfway. He does not just bring you back to where you were, He brings you beyond it. This is not a recovery. It is a return with increase. What you lost taught you value, and what you endured built capacity. God restores with interest because He is just, and justice always considers time, pain, and faithfulness. The delay did not cancel the promise, it multiplied it. You thought restoration meant getting back what was taken, but God thinks bigger. He restores vision with clarity, peace with stability, strength with wisdom. He returns relationships with discernment, opportunities with preparation, blessings with stewardship. You are not getting back what you had. You are getting what you were ready for. Loss trained you how to manage abundance without fear and influence without ego. Every season you survived on less qualified you for more. You learned how to stretch, how to prioritize, how to trust God daily. That discipline will now protect you in seasons of overflow. God restores with interest because He knows increase without discipline becomes destruction. You are not just being blessed, you are being entrusted. The weight of what is coming would have crushed the version of you from before, but now you are strengthened to carry it. The interest God adds is emotional. You now have peace where anxiety once lived, confidence where insecurity once whispered, stability where chaos once ruled. You are no longer afraid of losing what God gives you because you know He can restore again. That freedom changes how you live. You enjoy blessings without clinging to them. You give generously without fear. You rest without guilt. That is interest you cannot measure with money. God also restores relationally with interest. He brings healthier connections, mutual respect, and divine alignment. You are no longer surrounded by people who drain you, but by people who sharpen you. The loneliness you endured refined your discernment. You now recognize covenant when it appears. You no longer chase acceptance because you understand your value. The restoration is not crowded. It is correct. The interest shows up in influence. Your voice carries authority because it has survived opposition. Your presence shifts atmospheres because it has been shaped in prayer. People listen because they can feel the depth. You do not have to force doors open anymore. Faith responds to preparation. Opportunities locate you because you are positioned. God restores not just what you lost, but what the loss produced in you. There is also generational interest. What you endured stopped cycles. The healing you chose changed futures. The prayers you prayed reached beyond your own life. Your restoration becomes protection for those connected to you. They will not have to fight the same battles because you fought them with faith. God honors obedience by multiplying its impact. This restoration will surprise you because it comes quietly at first. It does not announce itself. It unfolds. You wake up one day and realize you are no longer struggling where you once barely survived. You realize doors are opening without strain. You realize peace has become your default. That is interest. That is God paying you back with dividends you did not calculate. When God restores with interest, the testimony is undeniable. It is not luck. It is not timing. It is covenant. The same God who saw every tear kept count. The same God who allowed the loss prepared the return. What was taken did not defeat you. It developed you. What was delayed did not deny you. It prepared you. Now the comeback is not just visible, it is sustainable. And what God is releasing into your life will reflect not only what you lost, but everything you became while waiting for Him to restore it.